Hello, and welcome to our program, Astronomy for Everyone. With me in the studio today is our special guest, Tina Weller, a science teacher here at Roosevelt High School in Wyandotte. Tina, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Don.
Glad to have you here to learn all about not only you, but the science programs at the high school. First question, what inspired you to become a teacher?
Okay, so teaching was not my first career choice, although I love it.
Okay.
I was originally in college to be a veterinarian, pre-vet school. I worked at a veterinary hospital as a co-op my senior year in high school. And I decided about a year and a half in that was not what I wanted to do. So like most college kids, I changed my major and I was going to go into psychology. And I actually have a psychology degree. 3/4 in, I had a professor, and his name was Dr. Carl Ojala at Eastern Michigan University. And I took one earth science class from him, and I was sold. I said, that's what I want to do for a living, however I get to do this. And so I graduated college with a double major in earth science and psychology. And I went back to him and said, what do I do with these degrees? And he said, you should look into teaching. And I said, well, public speaking is not my thing. And who knew? Because I'm in my 17th year here at Roosevelt High School in Wyandotte, and he really inspired me. Just at his charisma and the way that he interacted with all the college kids was fantastic.
I understand you had some inspiration from family as well?
Oh yeah, so growing up in a family of all boys, I'm an only girl, I would go to Florida every year, and I have 3 brothers, and so it was really something to grow up with boys, Boy Scouts, and dirt and mud, and just nonstop. And I was a figure skater. My mom tried to make me really girly and figure skate, but deep down I was a tomboy, and so it was something that I think I was just always a part of, being involved in like just anything scientific, from going up north and camping and looking at the stars with my brothers and my mom and dad, or things like that. Like that was really what got me interested in science, is just growing up with all brothers. And then my grandmother too.
How did she nurture your interest?
So my grandmother, when I was 5 years old, she moved down to Naples, Florida, and when I was very small, I remember her waking me up at the crack of dawn at low tide, and she would take me shelling on the beaches of the Gulf and grab my bucket, pick up all the different specimens of shells, and we would come back to her house, and we would open up a large coffee table book she had, and I would lay every shell on the correct picture. And when I got them all right, it was, a victory. And that continued through my life. My grandmother's currently 87 years old, and she is a lifelong learner of everything. She inspires me every day to not stop trying. She has a Facebook and a Twitter at age 87. She's fantastic.
Good for her. So
Yeah.
This travel you've done with your mom and dad and your husband and children as well.
Yeah, so when I was younger, growing up with my brothers, we would travel. I mean, my mom and dad, they're very very meager when I grew up, and they just made it a priority to take us and show us the world. So I've tried to do that with my own family. I have 2 sons and my husband Jeff, and we try to take the boys whenever we have a small break somewhere to discover things, like my family did when I was growing up. When I was 13, I remember going on an out west trip. All the way out to Colorado. We went, the Highway 90 all the way through South Dakota and the Badlands. And then this summer, my husband and I took our own children on the same trip. So
that's great.
Yeah, Mount Rushmore, the Badlands. We really just took the kids and just really tried to keep the science alive with them. They love it.
Terrific. That's a wonderful way to do it, the hands-on with your family, and then as we'll get into in a little bit with your students at the high school. So with your grandmother and your parents sparking your interest in science, you've continued on, and then as you mentioned, your professor at Eastern Michigan.
Yeah.
To rekindle that, I suppose, in a way, to be able to move into the science that you enjoy doing so much. Now, at the high school, there are programs and projects that you're involved with your students?
Yeah, so I teach 6 sections of Earth Science at Roosevelt, and we have 4 advanced sections and 2 regular Earth Science. And so the program currently is on the GLICS, the old high school GLICS. So we haven't moved into the next generation of science standards yet. So it's called the NGSS. And so right now we're doing very traditional a framework they set up for us. It's all of the benchmarks. You have to cover so much content in the year. And so our students have really just done sort of research things, posters and presentations. And really the GLICS, it's very hard to dive in deep into projects and expand those. And when you do, you have to sacrifice something else that you won't be able to cover.
That's what I understand in talking with other teachers
Yeah.
and working as I do at the Science Center and Cranbrook, talking with them. There's just so much that it seems like just a broad brushstroke and there's no depth.
Exactly. That's what it is. It's almost stressful because you really feel like if you don't cover these standards, they're not learning something. But really, it's so fast that this new generation of standards coming through, it's going to let us slow down and dive in deep and really start getting into those in-depth discussions like science really is. So
that's true. I suppose if you have some more in-depth on a few topics rather than just a passing glance at many, I would think that what you do teach is going to have a greater impact.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And of course, we're going to talk about those new generation standards here in the next part of our program in a few minutes.
Okay.
Some of the other projects that you do with your students?
Okay, so when I teach Earth Science right now, we break it really into 3 sections. It's a year-long program. And Roosevelt is, we're not the only school that teaches an Earth Science class in 9th grade, but a lot of them do a flip-flop. So they'll do physical science and Earth Science in 8th grade. But we've always kept it the opposite because our strength and equipment is at our high school. We have a planetarium, and the planetarium was built in 1974, and we have an old Spitz 512 projector that we use, and every year we bring the kids in for 12 weeks of astronomy, and we show them, the night sky and all the things in the planetarium. But, we also get into geology in the Earth Science class and meteorology. So it is a year-long program, but we really would like to get into depth about the astronomy and be able to expand that portion of it. We'll be getting a new planetarium, we just were told this year.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. As nice as the old Spitz star balls are, there's so much more out there with the new digital technology to teach other subjects like Earth Science using some of the new digital program that I've seen from some of these companies. I think that'll be quite interesting. Now, you have some astronomy that you do outside of the planetarium?
Oh, yeah. So I run a science club at the high school, too, and we have over 75 members, 9th through 12th grade. And so we run a community event there. We have the kids meet up at the planetarium for stargazing outside with telescopes. It's just a really in-depth thing that we try to get the kids to look at science outside of the classroom and really just keep the interest alive. It's not hard to do with the fabulous planetarium. The minute they set foot in that room, the first time, they can't even believe their eyes. It's really neat.
Plus, it's good, as you say, the hands-on.
Hands-on for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with the new projector that we haven't really decided on which company we're going with yet, but I won't be stuck behind the panel of the Spitz 512. It'll be a lot more interactive, being able to stand in the middle of the room and manually run it from an iPad.
Okay.
So we're very excited about the superintendent giving us the okay on that.
There you go. Yeah, very, very exciting. So it sounds like there's a well-rounded science program in the Wyandotte schools, and especially the high school, Roosevelt.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we feel really strong about when we have to move on to these standards and fully implement them, I believe, by 2020, that we're at a very good spot right now. One of the problems that'll come up with many schools is that they want to take the Earth Science, which is a big part of the NGSS, and spread it over all of the sciences. But what you're going to run into is teachers who are biology certified who can't teach the space sciences or the geological sciences that are required because they don't have the certification that's called highly qualified.
Oh, I see.
And so they want to do that with chemistry and physics, but I think our school, staying with the framework that we have, will be able to give the kids more in-depth at all of the subjects without breaking them apart.
Yeah.
And I just think that's a really good way to go.
Sounds like you're already sort of lined up to come out of the gate.
I think we are.
With these new standards, so it'll be less of a curve getting into it and implementing it. This has been very interesting. I've been enjoying the heck out of this, just learning all of these great things that are going on in science. We've got a lot more to cover, but right now we're going to take a quick break here. If you have a question about our guest here today or any of the other topics that we've covered or anything in science, astronomy specifically, send us an email. The email address you'll see down there at the bottom of your screen. And coming up next is Stephen with Term of the Month.
Thanks, Don. The term of the month for May 2016 is ephemeris. In astronomy and celestial navigation, an ephemeris gives the position of asteroids or comets or planets or moons or even artificial satellites in the sky at a set of times. Now, historically, an ephemeris was printed, and that's because they're very computationally expensive if you have to compute them manually. I saw a 17-page description of how to program your computer on it, and it's just an overview. Anyway, they are still printed even though your phone may be able to compute them instantly. Now, speaking of instantly, the word ephemeral is an adjective meaning a short time, perhaps just an instant, but up to maybe a day. For nearby objects like the moon, and especially the International Space Station, times are good for less than a minute. It takes about a minute for the ISS to cross the sky, the whole sky. Now, this image was taken in June 19th of 2007 from the ground, and Space Shuttle Atlantis is docked in the lower left. See if you can spot that. And that's ephemeris, term of the month for May 2016. And back to you, Don.
Thanks, Stephen. Welcome back to the show. My special guest for this month's program is Tina Weller, the science teacher at Roosevelt High School here in Wyandotte. Now, Tina, we talked in the first part about the new generation science standards. Can you talk a little bit about STEM as it ties into that?
Yeah, so the next generation of science standards is really emphasizing engineering and mathematics, and just the whole modeling is just a big buzzword right now, and getting kids to explore not just your traditional research project, but dive into, well, you know, let's investigate something, let's research it, let's build it, let's test it, and then let's see if it works or if it doesn't work, and at that point make a decision almost following the scientific method, but in depth through the whole thing. Right now we don't have that. We do labs all the time, but it's just such, as I was saying earlier, just such a race to get through everything, where now these new standards are letting us kind of slow down and get into more in-depth discussions on things. So it'll be really nice to be able to do some of those.
To get the kids in there to do something and even fail at it.
Yes.
And try it again. Okay, this didn't work. Let's try something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what Edison did.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what they all did. And so, I mean, they do that still. I'm not saying we don't. We have all kinds of lab experiments at the high school, but it's just going to allow us to expand it instead of content nonstop, all these standards. It's going to let us be able to expand at what we're currently doing, and I think the kids will enjoy it a lot more.
In your program at Roosevelt, how do you see the balance between male and female students? We didn't talk about this before, but do you see the girls sticking with it more now, or are you still seeing the drop-off?
Absolutely. It might be because I'm a female science teacher. I'm sure I have that influence a little bit, but I really I teach primarily 9th grade right now, so you're talking 14, 15-year-old kids, and right now they're just as driven as the boys to, I really emphasize that they can do anything they want and any career they want. I think they see that in the world today. I really do. I take a group of 25 girls every year to the AAUW of Birmingham branch. It's called the Explorathon.
Yes.
And we just went last month, and they get to see women in those careers, whether they're lawyers or doctors or scientists, and really meet them and find out what they did, where did they go to school, how did they get to where they are, what were their struggles. And so it's a fabulous conference. I think that was our 12th year going to it used to be it's at the Cranbrook Middle School.
Okay.
But anyway, yes, it was fantastic.
That's great. They can see women in what used to be non-traditional vocations.
Right.
And enabling them to think, hey, anybody can do this.
Yeah, they have a great time. We take 9th through 12th grade girls, so.
So tell me more about your science club at Roosevelt.
So the Science Club, again, we have over 75 members. It just keeps growing and growing. You can see in the pictures, it's boys and girls. And we run a community event, one of the biggest events we do every year in the city of Wyandotte, at our planetarium. We call it a Party with the Stars. So we invite the entire community, but we gear it to kids 10 and under. And so what we do is we teach the high school kids in our Science Club how to teach astronomy to kids that are 10 and under. And we run crafts and different experiments, and then I run the planetarium shows inside. And so through a night, I probably run about 4 or 5 shows, and while the kids are out in the commons area, just exploring computer programs, different apps. This year they did a lightsaber battle, how to fight like Luke Skywalker. And we have them build a little telescope out of a Pringle can.
And I understand you've brought those supplies with you to demonstrate how this is done.
Yeah, it's really simple, and everyone can do this at home. So you just need a Pringles can, and you want to have an adult, because you're doing this with a small child, pound a hole through the metal part of the can.
Okay.
And then in the lid, you don't want the chips.
Eat the chips first, right?
Eat
It
the
works
chips,
better?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
So you just cut a piece of black construction paper the size of the lid. And so then, again, if you're working with a really small child, you'd want an adult. You're going to take that construction paper, and we have a little template, all right, a little template that has the constellations, whichever season you'd like to teach. And so they take this, so I already cut one out here, and they put it on the black disc.
Okay.
And then on a piece of cardboard, they lay it over there, and they poke the holes. So here we have Ursa Major, and you just quickly poke the holes here. And now you have it, and we have the kids label the discs so they know if they fall out. So they write Ursa Major on here, and you put that back inside the lid, snap it on, and when they look here, you can try it out.
Okay, live demonstration here. Oh, fantastic! Of course, you can rotate this around to show the different seasons of the year, looking at the northern sky.
Absolutely, and then they decorate the outside when they're real small, and then they get to keep it as a souvenir. And then they can store all of the other constellations in the top.
Yeah.
So it's a really neat, they love it. They think, and you see the night sky through there.
Is something like this available online?
I do, absolutely. Yeah, I could share that for sure.
Okay. Teachers watching, they can pick up on that. It sounds like a great hands-on...
Yeah, they can just send me an email, and I can send them the PDF of the whole entire lesson. So
great. All right. So with the club, they're mentoring the younger children. They're involved in the program. What else do you have them involved with?
Oh, well, we view through telescopes, so that night we will set out telescopes in the commons area. It's like an outdoor, you step outside the planetarium, and we teach them a lot of... So a lot of kids don't have telescopes, fancy machines. So if there's something fancy coming up in the night sky, like an eclipse or a planet going into transit, we teach them a way that they can study that. So one of the things that we've done is we take a pair of binoculars, and right off the bat we tell them, whatever you do, don't look through the binoculars. But if you hold them up just right and you point them on a piece of white paper, back in 2012, I think it was, we showed them Venus in transit. Right there in front of the sun. It was, and they couldn't believe that it was a planet. That black dot is the planet Venus. I said, yeah. And it was on just an art easel, a little kid's art easel. It was really cool.
Yeah, to use that eyepiece projection technique to show it, and of course with the proper warnings, as you said.
Right, don't look through and you could make
Yeah.
a shadow box. We also did that for the eclipse. It was a partial eclipse in 2014 of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
We showed them, I have a really crummy picture, but we showed them how, it was starting to go into that, and they could see the shadow just with, again, the white paper, just that very
Exactly.
simple, without a filter on a telescope. They didn't have to do that. And then the blood moon in the fall.
Yeah, back last, I think, end of September, we had that total lunar eclipse.
Yeah,
it was. Yes.
so I told the kids, I had a camera, and I said, I'm going to take a picture. I live in Plymouth, and it was clear. I got a break in the clouds, and I said, when I see it, I'll share my picture, and I did. And it came out good, and then Sky and Telescope magazine retweeted it. My students thought I was instantly famous. It was my 5 seconds of Twitter fame.
Oh, there you go. Teacher was a
funny.
rock star, eh?
Oh,
Yeah.
right, yeah. Anything to please the high school kids, right?
Great. Now, it sounds like science education. In the media, we've heard in the past about the level or not so much level of education in our country, and especially with science. But it seems that here in Wyandotte, it's alive and well. Are other states that you know of going to be adopting similar standards to what we're doing here in Michigan?
Yeah, I don't know how many have, but I know we are not first. I want to say there are probably over 20 states that have already adopted the standards.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly how many, but this is a national thing that we're moving on to. And Michigan will go into the Michigan's, it'll be called the MSS, the Michigan Science Standards.
Okay.
So you take the national, you scale it down to what could be unique to our state.
Sure.
And then from that, they have these things, they're called performance expectations, the teachers will be given. And through that would be the old GLICs.
Yep.
So now they're their performance. You just kind of go through those and make sure you're touching on everything. And they've changed the language for graduation. So now kids don't have to have, it's 3 credits of science to graduate high school. So right now we have earth science at Roosevelt for 9th grade. And then every kid has to take biology to graduate right now. And then every kid has to take physics or chemistry. Well, the new standards, they just fixed in 2014, it's just 3 years of science. And you have to meet those performance expectations now, any way you'd like to.
So it doesn't have to be chemistry or biology.
They've given creative freedom to the districts, but there will be test standards that come through.
Oh, sure.
That, of course, these things will, grow with everything that we learn about them. So
It sounds like there's more local autonomy than there used to be back in the day when it was almost like one size fits all.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's hard to do when you have teachers coming out of college with certifications and highly qualified standards to teach those subjects. It's very hard to say one size fits all. You want your expert in earth science teaching your space sciences.
Yeah.
You really do. You don't want to, no offense against the biology teachers, they might be good at space, but they didn't take those classes. They're not certified in those, fields to give it an in-depth look.
So the students will have a teacher who knows their stuff,
Yes.
so to speak, and then they can impart them to that. You've got the latitude now to maneuver around where before you didn't, and it sounds like the future in science education is looking a little bit brighter.
Yeah, I really think it is. At least that's how I see it.
Well, I really do appreciate Tina being with me here today in the studio to talk about all the wonderful things that are happening here in Wyandotte and our state of Michigan with the science standards. If you'd like more information, please go to our club website. The website will be shown down at the bottom of your screen. You can check out all that we do at the Ford Amateur Astronomy Club. And again, I'd like to thank Tina for being on our show. And coming up next, of course, is Stephen with What's Up in the Night Sky for May. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for Stephen. Thanks for watching.
What's up in the night sky for May 2016? We're still coming toward the summer solstice in June, and so the days are still getting longer. At the beginning of the month, well, the rise time starts at 6:30 at the beginning of the month and goes to 6 a.m. by the end of the month, and the sunset time goes from 8:30 to 9 p.m. Over the month. The moons in May start with a new moon on the 6th, so there's not that much to see. It's very hard to spot even a thin crescent near the new moon, even a day either side. First quarter is the 13th, full moon is the 21st, and the third quarter is the 29th. Now, Mars, most of these pictures are on the 15th. These are, in fact, all on the 15th. Mars rises about 11 p.m. To 8 p.m. over the course of the month. Opposition is May 22nd, so on the 22nd, Mars should be up all night long. Superior conjunction coming up is in late July, July 26th. Saturn rises at midnight and goes to 9 p.m. over the course of the month. Opposition is coming up on June 3rd, so that, Saturn is getting bigger. Jupiter is with the moon on the 15th. This is an 11 p.m. shot also. Jupiter sets from 5 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. over the course of the month. Opposition was recently March 8th. Jupiter is in Leo near Virgo, and Virgo, this Leo-Virgo area is where the Virgo galaxies are. So if you've got dark skies away from city lights and a telescope, you should be able to see at least some of the brightest of the galaxies. There's just a whole bunch of galaxies. A chart would be helpful, but there are a lot of them there. The moon is not ideal for looking at galaxies, so maybe not the 15th, maybe not the 21st, the full moon either. Uranus is recently in superior conjunction. That is, it's behind the sun. That was April 9th, and we're not really, we don't really have a good view of Uranus. It's not feasible yet. It'll be a morning object when that happens. Neptune, this is also on the 15th, but at 4:30 a.m. Neptune rises from 4 a.m. to 2 a.m. over the course of the month. Neptune is hard to spot without a really good chart, but it's near Delta Aquarius, and so that's a bright star. It's half a degree. It's the width of the full moon from Neptune all month long. So that's what's up in the night sky for May 2016.